different today. So you probably see up in the corner there's a little window. So I just saw that we had a new video from PhilosophyTube, Abigail Thorne. I wanted to listen to it as I'm playing Destiny 2. So try to hear out what arguments are being made. See if I can at least boil down what she's trying to say in this video. Now, the video's title is Vaccines and Freedom, which, ironically, there's been a lot of issues with people who believe that vaccines should be a personal matter and shouldn't be mandated, which there are, especially in the US, nobody's actually mandating it. It's just, there's a lot of fear and talk that's been going on around. There are some governments that are mandating it, but honestly, we already have mandates on vaccines for other diseases. I feel it doesn't matter. It should be, if it's deemed necessary to mandate it, it takes 2 seconds to get a fucking shot. So, we're going to listen to it. And I'm going to try to enjoy some Witch Queen along the way. So, without further ado, we have my hunter right now, which I need to go and throw some high tier gear on him, and then sorry, give me a few seconds. I'm trying to get this quest line done with the Witch Queen and hopefully get this little shoddy powered up. Because I want to make that thing a truly disgusting roll. And where the fuck did my palindrome go? There it is. Alright, that's not the one. I want this one. And we got another. I'm figuring might as well go ahead and work the shaped weapons while I get the chance to. So I got that thing at level 7. Same at level 13. That thing is just up. Disgusting in itself. So we need to start the arrival. This thing should be posting for legendary on it. Now, why it's not showing legendary? Alright.
In times of crisis, people look to their leaders for answers. But ever since the planets were ripped from our sky, it seems all I can offer are more questions. And now, with Mars returned, I hardly know where to start.
Yeah. Right. Alright, we're skipping that. Because we've already seen this in the first round. Alright. Yeah, of course, become legend. Because reasons. And we're going to play Velocitude. Oh, give me a second. I think I forgot to put the audio on for. There we go. We should have audio now. Let me restart the video. I'm not used to having audio on this, okay? Give me a break. Okay.
Oh, it feels like I've had this mask on for so long that parts of my face have slightly changed shape. That's better. Hello, my name's Abigail. Welcome to Philosophy Tube, a show about ideas. I've got something quite exciting for you guys, something that's been in the pipe for a long time. For the last couple of years, I've been volunteering here in the UK with a group of independent scientists and scholars trying to challenge pseudoscience. The group is called
Pseudoscience does need to be challenged.
Pseudoscience.
Yep.
I wanted to have a more exciting name. I was outvoted. We're all unpaid, and we meet at the Royal Institution, which is a charity dedicated to distributing scientific knowledge, not to be confused with the Royal Society or the Royal Family. When the pandemic started, a lot of our work became about challenging vaccine pseudoscience and conspiracy theories and disinformation. We realized that people who have declined the vaccine are often made fun of, often talked about, but rarely talked to. So, we commissioned some research to interview them and hear what they really have to say. Those interviews were fascinating. Not at all what I expected from the mainstream depiction of this issue. So today I want to take an honest look at what they said, the philosophical arguments they made, the things they got wrong, and I feel a little bit like John Oliver. It's like, we wanted to find out what unvaccinated people really think, so that's exactly what we did. Also, as a hilarious bonus, that project, dedicated to giving unvaccinated people a voice, was funded with a grant from the Open Society Foundation, which means it was literally paid for by George Soros. I had
That's
complete
ironic.
control over today's script, and as always, I'll be citing my sources at the top of the screen in case you want to check anything that I say. I was not paid at any stage of the project because Philosophy Tube is independently funded by the fans at patreon.com/philosophytube, where you can sign up if you think that I did a good job. So now, without any further ado, welcome to the show.
My friends would just
Alright, that's actually a nice little intro to that. Definitely like the fact that they decided to go with trying to actually elucidate what's going on with the whole anti-vax movement. At least try and get in contact with people and try to take their arguments in good faith. At least so far as I can see. After dealing with it for so long and in other avenues, it becomes very irritating very fast. Hey, I'm trying to do a review here. You all don't want to give me any fucking help. I really shouldn't grab one of the, oh. Bad sniper, bad. Oh, give me just 5 seconds. I think I have another shaped weapon. That's right. I don't have any shaped weapons for the, yeah, my energy weapons are all the other shaped weapons. Really don't want to try to throw more shit at the blade. Hey, big ugly. Boop. Don't you recharge your shield. Away. Alright. Let's see how a cannon works. Alright. I think it's about time to go ahead and see one video.
Describe me as funny, skeptical, and principled. I think something important about me is that I believe in socialism.
I'm not an expert on medicine, but it's just common sense.
Everyone says we've got free speech, but clearly we haven't got free speech, because if we had free speech, then there wouldn't be any people being shut
You have the right to do whatever it is you want.
I feel like I've been judged by everyone who's taken the vaccine.
Voices overlapped in a cold or dramatic way. Yeah. There's one thing that if you ever do watch Philosophy Tube, kick on closed captioning. It's always comedy. The little
First thing I'd like to do is take you through the
subtle
project
taste there.
and show you how it worked, so there's nothing hidden. We needed to find some people who were voluntarily unvaccinated, and I'm going to refer to them as voluntarily unvaccinated because, as you'll see, a lot of them aren't anti-vaxxers at all. Plus, I want to distinguish them from the millions of people who want a vaccine but can't get one. Phase 1 was handled by a comms agency called Valent Projects. Valent logged on to facebook.gov and went to the most popular anti-vax Facebook pages, not people, they could find. They identified about 10,000 Brits who are members of those pages, and then grouped them by their age, gender, location, favourite My Little Pony, etc., along with the other Facebook pages they had liked, to get a flavour of their other interests. Valent found that the data clustered into 4 different types of unvaccinated persons, and I've given them all cute little names so that you can check them. They are earnest Emilys, caring Carols, self-improvement Steves, and loyal Lags. Don't let the names fool you, there was a mix of genders in each type. All 4 types are mainly white, although Emily's are the most likely to be people of colour, but I personally know 2 black Steves. There was a mix of political views too. Emily's are generally left-wing, anti-corporate pro-Palestine. Larry's are Brexit-supporting conservatives. Steve leans right on economics but left on social issues, and Carol is a little bit all over. Oh my god, I am such an Emily, but I have Steve rising. Having identified our 4 types, we then needed to find some who would actually speak to us.
Oh,
This is where
goddammit.
Phase 2 of the project began, handled by a consultancy company called Telltale Research. Not to be confused with Telltale Games.
I'll keep that in mind.
Telltale sent out a survey to 40,000 people, got 700 responses, and screened them down to 10, 4 Emily's, 2 Carols, 2 Steves, 2 Larrys. Those 10 were then paid for their time as they took part in a whole ethnographic project over days, answering questions, talking about life, asking their own questions, and even inviting the interviewers into their homes. You heard some of their actual words in the opening titles, though to protect their privacy, I hired professional actors to read them. By the way, if you'd like to read Telltale's full, detailed report, there's a free link in the video. Before we look at the results, let's talk about some limitations, just so we're clear. Now, I'm not a statistician, I'm surprising but all of our subjects were British, and that means their views might not represent the views of voluntarily vaccinated people everywhere. Valent and Telltale tried at every stage to make sure the smaller groups they focused on were representative of the larger ones, but they had to work within the limits of budget and time, so a bigger sample might have been nice. Also, all 4 types were constructed using only public data from Facebook, again, to respect people's privacy. So there might be other types of guy out there that aren't on Facebook, or relevant things about each type that were hidden behind privacy settings. Another limitation is we only spoke to people who are. For obvious reasons, we didn't speak to all those people who chose not to get vaccinated and then died of COVID. Although that would have been useless. I realized this when I read about the self-improvement Steves. Steves are quite into fitness and bodybuilding. They like listening to self-help gurus and entrepreneurs. They have a man up and do it yourself kind of an attitude. And that can be a very admirable thing. Unfortunately, Steve also applies this to the vaccine.
If it's a virus and you're taking care, and your body's strong enough to fight the virus, why should you need something external to help you?
In this case, that way of thinking puts Steve in danger. Because eating right and looking after yourself isn't what protects you against a virus. What protects you is antibodies. Steves who are young and fit might be better able to produce antibodies than is needed. But there's no guarantee, and no way to know until you catch it. There are stories about Steves who run marathons and climb mountains. They think, I'm fit and healthy, I don't need the vaccine, and then they die, because they weren't actually protected. What that means for our results is, all our subjects had one very important thing in common. They'd all gotten lucky.
Alright, so far this video is having a very interesting thought process. So by trying to spell the dispel the logic behind some people's preferences to not getting the vaccine, it could be easier to illustrate what people are thinking behind it. Well, yeah. Give me a second to wipe this fucking group out. There we go. Of course it went down. I gotta climb all the way up here. Get this. Alright. That'll give me plenty of time to try to construct my thought on this. So, a lot of these people are trying to, or they are worried about the disease. But they aren't utilizing rationale like what most people ought to. Much like the example used in the by the Steves, who believe that their bodybuilding routines protect them from the disease, when in fact it doesn't. That's not how it works. Yeah, you might be lucky enough to preserve yourself from the disease, but there's also still the chance that all your working out's going to be absolutely pointless. Besides that, as someone else has described to me, a vaccine is essentially like the workout routine for your antibody system. To essentially go in and give your antibodies a workout regimen to actually do the thing that it needs to do, which is protect you from the disease. Take that. Babu. Ah. Take it in the neck, then. Ba-boom. Alright, so we're about ready to start fueling. We might as well go ahead and work on the second dose, the results.
When BBC Question Time announced they were planning to have some voluntarily unvaccinated people on the program, they got destroyed on social media. It was widely assumed that anybody who hasn't had it yet must be an anti-vaxxer or a conspiracy theorist with nothing valuable to say. Now, as a TRA, it is LOL to see the BBC getting KIA in the QTs. However, our interviews at least don't entirely support that picture. None of our subjects thought that the vaccine contains microchips. All of them believe that the virus exists and can be deadly. Most of them support things like face masks and lockdowns that at least sometimes, and most of them weren't against vaccines in general. However, they all had worries about this vaccine in particular. All of our subjects said they thought it had been rushed.
You can't patent an injection at a vaccine that quick.
Yeah, that's one of the common arguments I hear.
Good, then why haven't you done it before? You have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, Down syndrome. You could have all these things. Actually, no, not Down syndrome. Sorry, I take that back. All these things, you could have a vaccine for each of them.
And to be honest, I kind of wondered about this too. They did develop it quite quickly. How did they do it? Turns out the answer's quite simple. Imagine you work for NASA in the 1970s, and they say, we need you to design a lunar rover, a car that works on the moon. You might be like, oh my god, that's impossible, that's never been done before. But then you sit down and you go like, oh, I know how cars work. So it's probably going to need a motor and some wheels. Probably not going to need air conditioning. If somebody else can handle building it and getting it there and paying for it, I could probably design something. And it's like that with vaccines. We know how to make them, so we make them right. And we know how to design a safe, effective trial of a vaccine. I can tell you from experience that the longest part of any project is always waiting for the funding people to email you back. So if you've got the money ready to go, yeah, it turns out you can actually do things quickly. So why don't they do it with other diseases? Well, good question, Carol. The answer is partly medical and partly political. The medical bit is that if a disease is caused by a germ, then we can, in theory, eliminate that germ, like we did to smallpox, or stop it from spreading. But diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's are caused by the body's own cells degenerating as part of their natural life cycle. It means we can't really prevent it in the same way. Even if there was a cure for cancer, we still have to give it to everyone who gets cancer, whereas with something like smallpox, I mean, we don't even need a cure for that because you can't get it. The germ is extinct. The political bit is something that philosophers have been talking about for years, and our subjects are very sensitive. Pharmaceutical companies, and the economy generally, are not designed to serve human need, they're designed to maximize profit. Also, the economy isn't controlled democratically, so you can't change the priorities. In theory, people can vote with their dollars. The free market can express their needs, and if it's an unmet need, the market will respond. But when it comes to global health, obviously that isn't what's happening. One of the biggest...
Okay, yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest notes about this is that vaccine did get produced rather quickly. There's also another aspect of it that the vaccine was approved because of the methodology in which approvals are done. Usually it's done in a three-stage setup. It was done in tandem rather than procedurally. Usually they would go 1, then 2, then 3. They did all 3 steps at the same time. Anyways, sorry about that.
Killer diseases in the world is diarrhea, which is pretty easy to treat medically speaking, but it tends to kill people in countries that have very little money, so there's no market to sell treatments to. Vote with your dollars.
The power of Pepto repels you.
So that's why we're not doing it with every disease, because we're spending all the research on it here. So trans women can buy Viagra,
Ah,
and the
damn it.
pharmacist can say, is this for your boyfriend? And we can go, you know what, let's say yes.
Because medical research so often aims at the promotion of profits rather than solutions to the world's most urgent medical problems, a majority of funds focus on the wants of a minority of the world's population, those who are relatively wealthy. As a result, healthcare is often unavailable to those who
I really need to set up the wood.
In the case of COVID, there's a global market because the disease is global. So, yeah, the funding department emailed back pretty quickly. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work, or that you shouldn't take it. But you're not necessarily out of your mind if you realize
Oh,
society...
delayed boom. Ba-boo.
This is a theme we're going to come back to. Another thing that came up
Ba-boom.
sometimes is subjects
3,
worried about
2,
the
1,
long-term
boom.
effects of the vaccine. Sure, it's okay now, but what if in 10 years' time it's not a problem?
We don't yet know what the outcome is, the long-term outcome is for people. And especially when I'm seeing things about like infertility and stuff, I haven't had any children yet. At least let me have one or two before. Do you know, like, you say to me, like, you can't have any more. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like we should be able to wait a little bit.
Science doesn't really deal in absolutes, because it's supposed to always be open to new evidence. But we can be very confident that the COVID vaccine isn't going to have any surprises long term because of how it works. Your body naturally contains things called memory cells. They're made in your bone marrow, you've already got them. And kind of like a medical student who's just graduated, they can specialize in a specific disease. The vaccine contains a little piece of the virus, not the virus itself, is crucial to understand. And depending on which one you get, the mechanism is different, but the effect is that your memory cells specialize in destroying that piece. That way, if you ever get infected with the real virus, they can produce the specific antibodies you need to stop it. It's kind of like if you showed your body a picture of the virus, and you were like, watch out for this bitch, and your body was like, okay, cool, I remember. That's also why variants can be such a pain in the ass. When the virus turns up, suddenly it looks a little bit different, and everyone's like, she looks good. She gets some work done. The actual stuff that's in the injection vial gets broken down. So that's why we can be very confident that we will be nasty surprises. Because after a few days or weeks, there won't be anything in you that wasn't already. You know,
I like
say,
surprises.
If you give a man an antibody, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a man's body to make antibodies, he'll have an antibody for the rest of his life. And you might be wondering, as our subject did, are those memory cells as good as the ones that I would get from a natural infection? Are those antibodies as good as natural antibodies? To which the answer is some people claim that getting vaccines weakens your natural immune system, but that's kind of like saying lifting weights will make you stronger, but it weakens your natural immune system. That's just not how it works. In fact, it's safer to get vaccinated because you can get the immunity without taking the risk of a serious infection. Remember, we may not have a lot of long-term evidence on the vaccine, but we do have a lot of long-term evidence on being a corpse. Unfortunately, though, evidence might not work. So it's a good thing this isn't science to you. This is philosophy to you.
Oh yeah. This definitely seems like it hits all the key notes. Yeah, that's. And I also like the fact that she actually noted that, yeah, it's a vaccine is essentially doing the workout regimen of getting the disease without actually getting the disease. Thus eliminating a lot of the biggest problems with getting the disease. Speaking of which, I am vaxxed, so yeah. I might be a little bit biased here. I just want everyone to live, damn it. Also, am I getting some hate mail on my thing? I wonder. I need to push up a little bit of this restream here. Okey-doke. And we have a viewer. Holy shit. Hi, random viewer. Hope you're enjoying the show. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hey. Weapon level up. Some bullshit. Uh-oh, there's a Uger. Did I get only weapons? Oh, fuck. So useful weapons. Especially at this point in time. The only thing these things are going to do is sit in my vault, wait to build up. Let's see, 428, 460, 1464. That's nice. Let's see if we can get this fella up to a decent level before I have to go and build up everything else. Let's see, 1448, 1350. Yeah, that reminds me. I gotta set up all my other stuff here. And up and up and up we go. Where we stop? Oh, here. Nope. Still need to go up some more. So this one we need to stop at. Okie doke.
When I was searching Cannon schematics, I saw marches from Kite. She wants to retake Mars as Cabal territory. Not sure how she'll feel about us here.
I don't think she'll feel much. Okay. Line that fucking thing up. Come on. Open up. Knock, knock. I'm trying to get Seventh's door here. Uh-huh. You'll stand by to revive my foot up your ass. Ba-boom. Have you ever been a bullet before? Alright.
We made it onto the ship, and we're seeing traces of void light. Seems like maybe another guardian got up here first.
That's impossible. Perhaps we acted too hastily. There are too many unknowns.
Solitude is the god of coming.
Let's hear what's going on in this third dose, learning from other diseases.
I read a few studies saying that people find it easier to think critically if they're emotionally primed to be comfortable, so I thought it would be good to get a little bit cozy. Most cases of cervical cancer are caused by a virus called HPV, or human pussy virus. In the early noughties, a company called Merck developed a
Human
vaccine,
pussy.
which was great. It performed really
Oh,
well
that's
in
fun.
clinical trials, so hundreds of thousands of lives could be saved. And maybe now my doctor can stop sending me letters telling me to get my cervix swabbed. Politicians in the US started proposing laws requiring teenage girls to get vaccinated before they could attend public school. HPV is sexually transmitted, and you need to get vaccinated before you catch it, hence the focus on schoolgirls. And this wasn't anything new. Vaccine requirements for schools had been around for decades because they're an effective way of curbing disease, and there were very broad allowances for parents.
Real quick, I need to switch up a weapon.
Fast. Even before the vaccine was widely available, people were talking about a requirement, and that might be because Merck had spent a lot of money lobbying. The vaccine cost $160.
Do I run a
a
finite
shot, so they
impactor?
were planning on making bank. They were already pretty
Or-
unpopular too, because a few years earlier they were caught pushing an arthritis drug that gave people heart attacks. The upshot was an unlikely
We'll play
political
around with the
alliance
katana.
formed between people who hate
The
all
Cantana.
vaccines, people who hate government requirements, people who worry about government spending, people who didn't like Merck, social conservatives who thought the threat of cancer would stop girls from having sex, doctors who sincerely wanted more information, and PE teachers who don't like you skipping class for any reason, even if it's to get vaccinated against a life-threatening illness. With all those different people trying to be heard, the discussion very quickly became about everything except the evidence. And I think it's important to bear that episode in mind today. Because I've read a lot of articles that just
Damn it.
repeat the evidence about the COVID vaccine in an exasperated tone. And from our research at least, it doesn't seem like that's gonna cut through because of how unvaccinated people see the rest of us. Our subjects consistently said that people who get the vaccine talk a big game about evidence, but we don't actually read it. They think that we're getting vaccinated not because the evidence says so, but because we're trusting. And that's the part they object to. This tied in with a common view of vaccinated people as moralistic bullies.
I feel like I've been judged by everyone that has taken the vaccine. People call you selfish for wanting to make your own choices.
Basically, they've been told to get vaccinated to protect themselves and other people. But I think they just want everyone to follow everyone like sheep, really, and just get vaccinated. Don't question it, just do it, because everyone else is doing it.
And I've got to admit, at least in my own case, they've kind of got a point. All the science stuff I told you in the last section is true. But I didn't do any of that research until after I got my jab. I've had 3 doses at time of recording, and there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing caused by the vaccine, anyway. So, it turns out I was right. But I can't pretend like it was a rational Sherlock Holmes brain decision. I did just kind of go along with it. Our subjects realized something very interesting, which is that trust plays a huge role in public health. We can illustrate this with a little example. Let's say that we design a healthcare system around the principle of informed consent, where doctors give their patients information and patients make their own decisions. Okay, sounds good. But suppose you're meeting your doctor to discuss cancer treatments or something, and they tell you your options, like radiotherapy and chemotherapy. Should your doctor also tell you about homeopathy? I'm inclined to say no, because scientifically speaking, homeopathy is a load of old bollocks. He might as well tell you about pigeon migration for all the good it's going to do. So, okay, informed consent just means your doctor gives you relevant information. But we've immediately hit a problem, because who decides what information is relevant? They can't give you a whole medical degree, or let you rerun all the clinical trials yourself. Even if you double check everything that they're telling you, at a certain point, you're going to have to either trust or not. And some people are just less trusting than others.
Oh, fuck.
This is something that doctors have been pointing out for years. This isn't the first pandemic humanity's been through. And something that comes up in the
Let's try out the
literature
Night
from
Stalker.
previous ones is the need for the public to trust health authorities. Because otherwise people don't listen, even if the evidence is right in front of their eyes.
Okay.
You've got to have evidence, yes. But evidence alone is not enough. This is something our subjects were really sensitive
Dodging
to.
makes you invisible.
One thing that stood out is they were all very distrustful of the British government, even the ones who voted for it. And anybody seen as close to the government was tainted by association.
I think when I listen to scientists that are paid or employed by the government, I find that quite untrustworthy, because I don't trust the government.
As soon as I saw Matt Hancock and all these people breaking the rules themselves, I was like, I'm not following them. If you're going to arrest me, arrest me.
All our subjects suspected that the government's pandemic response was just cover for something else, though they usually couldn't say what exactly. Larry's were the most specific, saying the government is using COVID as an excuse to give handouts to immigrants. If we look at the history books,
Okay, so that's how I
there
got
are
that.
actually some examples
Okay.
of public health being used as cover for
Let's see
something else.
here.
Take, for instance, this story about a bubonic plague outbreak in San Francisco's Chinatown in 1900. The morning following the death of Chick Jin, a 41-year-old resident of a dilapidated boarding house just after midnight on March 6, 1900, the San Francisco Health Department rolled out a full-scale quarantine of Chinatown days before laboratory tests confirmed the initial diagnosis of bubonic plague, preventing the Chinese residents of the city from leaving the neighborhood, going to work, or going about their business. In this case, only, as it later turned out, 4 of the 35,000 residents of Chinatown actually had plague. In the following weeks, the health department tried to inspect and disinfect every home and building in the 12-block area, throwing people out of their homes, confiscating and burning personal property, and beating residents who were uncooperative. Chinese were not permitted to leave the area, though whites could come and go freely. In that example, public health was used as an excuse for racism. It's not the only one like it. America has a dark history of unethical medical experiments on black people that has undermined trust in their healthcare system. Unless we think that sort of thing is just in the past. In 1991, there was a coup in Haiti, and refugees fled for the US. Some of them were HIV positive, and when the US government picked them up, they shipped them off and imprisoned them without trial in Guantanamo Bay. Under United Nations law for the detention of persons, this is called a dick move. Given this history, I would say it's not unreasonable to be cautious about public health and civil liberties. Of course, the evidence clearly shows it's existing minorities and people who are already struggling who tend to get the boot. Migrants, refugees, not relatively well-off Larrys. But again, we have to go beyond the evidence. A lot of our subjects felt marginalized, even if they weren't the sorts of people that we normally think of that way. Some of them felt marginalized for being Christian, despite the fact that Christianity is Britain's official state religion. They had emotional experiences associated with marginalization, like hurt,
Ow.
feeling misunderstood.
Okay, I'm sucking on its
without
honor right now.
always having material costs. But those feelings still shaped how they see the world. Like all people, they are drawn to perspectives and alternative media sources that validate their feelings. I hasten to add, this isn't because they're foolish or emotional. It's something that we all do. In a way, this issue isn't just about evidence, it's about the different things that count as evidence. A lot of our subject's problem wasn't with the vaccine per se, so much as the extent to which they feel the government and health authorities care about their lives, which is something that I can really relate to.
Alright. Yeah, that segment was actually a bit interesting. I see where Abigail's trying to highlight the emotional response to this instead of trying to go at it in a logical fashion, because, well, sometimes you have to catch people in the feels. Much like these bloody hive keep on catching me in the fucking back. Hey. Take out some of your friends while you're at it. You quit going into the fire. Anyway, so the point I was trying to make was that there is certain valid reasons why people are worrisome, and it would be better off to, instead of arguing some arbitrary facts and logic to some people, because even though Ben Shapiro is all about them facts and logics, some people just don't respond to that. They need the reassurance. They need to be treated like human beings when they're trying to deal with this. When they too are worried about something completely within reason too. They don't know their shit when it comes down to science. Hell, I don't know my shit when it comes down to science. That's why I have to essentially trust those who are more well-versed in shit. Well, of course, I try to go and learn shit more so I can... or learn more shit about stuff so I can better elucidate my point. I'm still essentially running from behind. Playing catch-up the whole damn time. At nearly 40 years old, it's very difficult to be playing catch-up. Hey, you crazy witch. Hope you like the present. What? God damn it. You wily... Come here. Take it. And you. Don't you come shocking at me. Alright. That gets this one done. Give me that sweet, sweet, sweet loot. Looty. Looty. Gets me a level 14 there. Nice. That's gotten up to level 8 now. Plenty of upgrade modules all over the place. 1465. Ghost, I'm sorry to tell you this, but yeah. Anyways, so that's one thing I'd probably end up starting to really rethink my arguments on, or essentially I try to recognize that there are some people that just won't be trustful of medicine, or at least medical science, as it is. Hell, our governing body has done some really shitty shit when it comes down to displaying the information. Usually they would go with more concrete statements rather than being more reasonable and saying, yeah, everything at this point looks like this. Oh, we came up with new, or we found new information. It's now this. Stuff like that. Just doesn't seem like it's a... I think it comes down to the fact that some people are not given the capacity to learn the scientific literacy. Which I'm an absolute failure when it comes down to that too. Honestly, I would like nothing more than to be able to illustrate points whenever I need to. But sometimes, well, I'm just trash. Anyways, seeing as how we're in a cooler spot, let's go ahead and listen in on to part 4, and looks like we have part 5 here shortly, and it's only another 20-ish minutes.
I met this guy at a bus stop a while ago, and he said to me, you know what? The doctors don't have a clue what they're doing, and neither do the politicians. I'm sick of everyone acting like I'm the problem when they're just trying to boss me around and make me jump through hoops and tell me what I can do with my own body. And I said, I agree with that. It's hard being transgender, isn't it? I kid, but for real. Usually, if somebody says to me, my body, my choice, I'm like, hell yeah, take that estrogen. Get that abortion. Do whatever you gotta do. As a British trans woman who has to deal with the NHS, bodily autonomy is an issue very close to my heart, among other organs. So, emotionally, I sympathized a little bit when some of our subjects said it wasn't about trusting the government, this was just their choice.
People should have free choice. If you don't have free choice anymore, then you're living in a dictatorship. I would never criticise someone for having it, but I don't want to be criticised for not having it.
It's your body and it's your right. And you have the right to do whatever it is you want to do with your body.
Some countries are introducing vaccine requirements, and there are practical questions to be asked, like who enforces it, and how do you replace key workers if they quit rather than have it, and do you compensate people if they have an allergic reaction? But our subjects mainly focused on the moral question. When, if ever, is it acceptable to override somebody's bodily autonomy? A lot of our subjects seem to be drawing on an old idea from a philosopher called John Stuart Mill, who said that as long as you're only hurting yourself, you should be free to do as you wish.
The only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any...
Yeah, that's a big thing, though. When you, and I'm sure that this is probably going to be addressed in the video further on. When you're vaccinating yourself, you're not necessarily... Or when you're unvaccinated, you're essentially allowing for the virus to be spread to other people. Even if they are vaccinated, then maybe they have someone in their family that isn't vaccinated because they have a medical reason why they can't. Or they're not part of the group that's allowed to get vaccines. So, by allowing yourself to become a disease vector when you can be vaccinated, it causes it so you can inadvertently harm other people. That's where the argument just goes down the drain when with this John Stuart Mill philosophy on it.
Any member of a civilized community against his own will is to prevent harm to others. His own good, either physical or moral, is not sufficient warrant. He cannot rightfully be compelled to forbear because it will be better for him to do so, because it will make him happier, because, in the opinion of others, to do so would be wise or even right. These are good reasons for remonstrating with him, or persuading him, or entreating him, but not for compelling him, or visiting him with any evil in case he do otherwise. The only part of the conduct of any one for which he is amenable to society is that which concerns others. In the part which concerns merely himself, his independence is of right, absolutely. Over himself, over his own body and mind, the individual is sovereign.
Or, as one of our subjects put it,
Do whatever you want in life, but don't ruin it for other people.
this idea is sometimes called the harm principle, as in you can harm yourself, you can't harm other people. Your freedom to swing your fist ends where the tip of my nose begins, as the famous saying goes. Sometimes it's difficult to tell exactly where that is, especially if the tip of your nose has recently been moved, but that's the idea. It's obviously very relevant to COVID, but this is not the first time humanity has confronted questions of liberty in the face of disease. In their book, The Patient as Victim and Vector, philosopher Margaret Batten and her co-authors discuss an old enemy, tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is very much the Lord Freezer of infectious disease. We kind of defeated it a while ago, but it never fully went away. It's caused by a bacterium that's highly contagious. New strains can and do spread very easily. And like Freezer, every time you think you've beaten TB, it transforms. Treatment takes months. You have to keep taking the antibiotics every day until it's completely gone. And one of the big factors contributing to the evolution of antibiotic-resistant TB is patients taking the pills wrong. You take them for a few weeks and then you feel better, so you stop. And then you feel worse again, so you go back on. And then you go off, and then you go back on, and on, and on. And meanwhile, TB is like, oh, you foolish monkeys. In the 90s, there was an epidemic of antibiotic-resistant TB in New York City, and the authorities responded aggressively with mandatory testing, directly observed treatment to make sure people were taking the pills right, and even imprisoning them until they got better. These measures were not universally popular. It was pointed out that TB spreads in poor living conditions, so these measures disproportionately affected homeless people without really solving their problems. But on the other hand, it worked, 'cause we're all still alive. Learning from this story, Batten et al. Say that public health measures need to strike a balance between seeing infected people as victims and seeing them as vectors. people who need help and who have rights, but also people who pose a very serious threat to others and themselves, whether or not they mean to. They say that Mill's harm principle relies on the idea of individuals separate from the general population. If you make a choice that only affects you, the government shouldn't step in. But when it comes to disease, the reality is we are all enmeshed in a filthy microscopic environment that spans the globe. A sneeze on a Tokyo subway can travel around the world in 24 hours just because people are breathing nearby. So there isn't really such a thing as a choice that
And there
only
we are.
affects you. Batten says that's just not the right framework to understand how disease spreads. And it's true of COVID. You can spread it, whether you're vaccinated or not. However, and this is very important, vaccinated people clear the virus faster and are therefore less likely to pass it on. If you're unvaccinated, you're more likely to spread it. Maybe to somebody who can't get vaccinated, maybe somebody thousands of miles away, and they might suffer or even die. Alternatively, you or them could end up taking a valuable hospital bed. In deciding whether or not to be immunized, it may seem that an individual is only risking harm to herself.
Here we go.
But she is also risking harm
It's
to
a
others
light
if
guardian.
she becomes a vector. She is seeing the situation from her perspective as a likely victim of the disease, but is willing to refuse immunization because she values something else, for example, spiritual salvation, bodily integrity, or natural living, more than the risk of illness. She is not, however, viewing the situation from the perspective of someone else. Another person who might be infected because she has not been vaccinated and has become ill. She's not thinking about the person who might want protection from her, or what, if anything, she owes him to keep this from happening. It would seem then that our subjects have been defeated
Right in the knee.
in the mind dojo, hoisted by their own petards, by their own logic. It would in fact be good to make them get vaccinated, either with social pressure or if we're strictly following John Stuart Mill, even with legal means. Bodily autonomy is all well and good, but what if our body decisions have a really big impact on someone else? That's certainly a concern I've been facing lately. However, as always on this show, it turns out that things are a little bit more complicated. Once again, we need to go beyond the evidence. According to our
That thing's
research,
not me, and it's not
that
me.
argument about maybe infecting other people is very unlikely to cut through for two reasons. Firstly, the harm that we do to other people by infecting them is usually unknown. If you don't get vaccinated, you might spread COVID to 10 other people, or you might not. And unless you live in a country with very robust contact tracing, which Britain doesn't have, you're probably never going to find out for sure either way. It's hard to get people to realize they might be vectors when they can't see the harm they're doing, and they can't see that it will probably be worse than the harm that a hypothetical vaccinated person in the same situation might do. It's all a little bit abstract. This is something that philosophers of global warming worry about as well. As my friend Alice said, when you get a positive COVID test, you should get a little video showing how you got infected, like a quad kill count.
God damn it, I
Second
went the
reason
wrong way.
is a lot of our subjects feel they're already
died.
by wearing masks and socially distancing themselves. They don't reject
I
the
derped.
idea of helping others. Far from it. They're just mistaken about the best way of doing it. Or they think that by sticking up for their interpretation of freedom, they're actually benefiting society more than they would by getting vaccinated. And so, our research found that calling them selfish, or just repeating the facts, or shaming them, as some commentators are unfortunately fond of doing, or even worse, saying that if they die it's their own fault, was very unlikely to persuade anyone.
I feel like we're being treated unfairly in that respect because they're kind of not letting our voices be heard. And when our voices are being heard, we're being laughed at, kind of put down.
Personally, I had a backlash from it in work, basically made me feel really bad because obviously I'm a carer. I love my residents who I look after. I look after 109 patients and I was told, oh, you clearly don't care about them, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I felt really bad. I felt like maybe, am I doing a bad thing? So I don't want to make anyone feel like that either.
course you go with suicide on me.
This is the
Goddamn twat.
Ebola virus. Not the real one, thankfully, but this is what it looks like. It's real nasty. Basically, it makes you bleed from every hole and then die. It's completely incurable, massively contagious, usually takes less than 2 weeks, and kills most of the people who get it. In 1995, there was an outbreak of Ebola in Zaire, now called the Democratic Republic of Congo. There had been isolated cases in rural areas for a long time, but it got into the main hospital of a major city and just consumed human flesh at a truly frightening speed. International experts came in to fight it, because if this thing ever went viral, it would make COVID look damn it. If you're watching this, that hasn't happened yet. Ebola is a very nasty disease, but it had helped, because Zaire was extremely poor. Before the outbreak even started, hospitals were sterilizing surgical instruments by boiling them in river water over a charcoal fire. And they weren't daft, they knew that wasn't ideal, but the staff hadn't been paid in months, and they literally couldn't afford to keep them out. Zaire was ruled by a military dictator called President Mobutu, who wasn't very nice. He got the job in 1961, and for the next 3 decades, he and his friends literally just transferred public money into their own bank accounts, including billions in foreign aid. Rise and grind, entrepreneurs! Gotta get that passive income! Billionaire mindset, baby! He did this with the tacit endorsement of America, Britain, and Belgium, because he let our corporations plunder the country's natural resources. In fact, he only got the job because the CIA helped assassinate his predecessor for being too left-wing. So when I say the people of Zaire were poor, that's not quite true. They were robbed. And as a consequence, their healthcare system was just totally unable to deal with this. Imagine living in a country where the rulers take money out of the healthcare system and give it to their friends. I'm so glad I live in Britain, where that never happened. I tell this story to show that our individual choices sit within a political context over which we often have little control. If you have, so far, voluntarily declined the vaccine, it's not your fault that many people in poorer countries haven't been given a chance yet. Governments and pharmaceutical companies refusing to waive patent laws is an overarching problem. It's also probably not your fault the healthcare system is running out of beds either, depending on who you vote for. Talking only about vaccination reinforces the questionable framework of personal responsibility, because then we're not talking about things like furloughs and wages and rent freezes and infrastructure, but we can think about two things at once.
I see
Our subjects may not have chosen their circumstances, but they still made a choice.
Okay, one of the biggest things I've seen in this is that it's essentially stating that those of us who are trying to advocate for the vaccine really should not be utilizing negative points. We should be utilizing positive points, trying to give that sense of the vaccine is essentially the gateway to freedom. It's the bodybuilders' extra weight to bump them up. It's the it is what is better to there's a better description for this, because I really need to get some sleep, honestly. But essentially we need to be utilizing more positive reinforcement when it comes down to illustrating to people, hey, we understand your frustrations with vaccine, but we want to help quell your fears about it. Here, tell us more about what you think and feel about it, and maybe we can, if I don't know the answers, we get to someone that does know the answers and try to alleviate those fears. Because honestly, sometimes positive reinforcement, it's better to get more people with honey, or you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, I guess. Well, of course, people who are truly bad faith individuals who push and peddle anti-vax rhetoric, those definitely need to be slapped around a bit. For the common layman who's listened to that drivel, really should be given a chance to say, hey, so you've heard this guy's side on this. Here, let's... Let's try to dispel some of these myths and hopefully make you feel better. That you might feel that it's not a bad thing. Alright, give me that shot. Okay, where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? You get the rocket. Alright, you don't want the rocket? Fine. Shotgun it is. Alright. Door's unlocked. Quick weapon level up too on top of it. Nice. Got the level 14, level 9. That's actually quite nice. So here soon I should be able to get this thing to a nice, lovely PvP roll. I will too if it's not for these Dastardly Hive. Okay, and now we're at the 1500s, so this is definitely helping out and getting us a lot faster. I should be able to get into the soft cap a little bit faster with this. That 1520 gear that's going to come around the side there is not going to be very helpful. But the extra blue gear I can get here will definitely help it out. Let's see, 1486. So the only thing I need to get built up would be this. I probably will start seeing some lower drop rates on stuff because my gear's starting to get more as my gear gets more swole, it becomes less active. Or less, I won't get as many gains. Alright, let's go ahead and finish out this video. I only got another
And it's
5 minutes or so.
Interesting to hear why they made it and under what circumstances they might choose differently. These people are our fellow human beings, in many cases friends and family members. With a little bit of empathy, they can be understood. Nevertheless, their choice has placed themselves, their loved ones, and all of us in very real danger. It would be better for everyone if they felt like they could change their minds and get the vaccine now without being shamed for being late to the party. Many of them are genuinely conflicted and are looking for a way to resolve that conflict. I would guess they're likely to go one of two ways: either get vaccinated or become further isolated and potentially more politically radicalized. From a public health perspective, there's no question which of those outcomes is better. Patreon.com/full.
Alright. Yeah. Essentially, I highly recommend anyone who's wanting to discuss vaccines with a family member. This video definitely be one to watch, because especially when you have friends or family members that are obviously vaccine hesitant. They don't understand that they may be thinking that they're protecting themselves by not taking the vaccine, that it's helpful, I would say. But it's one of those very touchy subjects which everyone needs to be aware of. But yeah, definitely check it out if you found it to be enjoyable. Definitely, I got the link on my information below, so everyone should be watching it. Everyone needs to give Philosophy Tube some money, throw it at them. Just give them the money, because seriously, she does a fucking awesome job when it comes down to a lot of her movies. Alright, let's go ahead and get her off my screen here. Because that doesn't... I didn't leave... Posse always ends up with the most interesting faces. Give me a second. I'm gonna change my sources. Okay. There's my Windows capture. There we go. It's gone. Let's run away, let's run away. Take that in the face. Hey, I sees you. Oop. Oop. And oop. That's a Shrek. Here, take that beat, White Bean. That happens, right? Yeah, hopefully I can get into a day one raid, because I really wanted to check this raid out. There's Ogre. Take it, Ogre. It's Ochre.
It's her.
How did you do it? How did you find strength to destroy something so like yourself?
Surprisingly easy. Ba-doom. Hey, big ugly. Oh, goddamn it, you got a whole team with you. Dodge. I can't hit shit today. Oh, she's gonna throw supers at me. Ba-boom. She's Nova bombing. Fuck. It's always one random exploder that gets me in the ass. Damn little moths. First Thrall, of course, gets a fucking rocket. One straight in the crown.
You're strong. That was too easy.
It did seem too easy. Did it?
I don't know. I know where this is leading. It's gonna lead to me face first in the fucking sand. Ooh, that hurt. Huh. Wonder, is there any other political videos that have popped up as of late? With Russia Ukraine, that'd be a interesting subject to touch into. But I'm not super keen on stuff, and I want to make sure I actually get stuff right.
We should have checked in, but we had Sabathun in our sights. That might have been our shot at her. We couldn't miss it.
I understand completely. That's not like Sabathun to allow ourselves to be so easily.
There's something else. Before we left the ship, we ran into one of her knights. And
It had a ghost, Ikora. Same as any other light bearer.
A ghost. A hive knight with a ghost. But that seems...
Sabathun stole the light. But that's impossible, isn't it?
Impossible. With Sabathun, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, I'll probably have to jump into some more of this here sometime later.
The witch queen. Hive god, cunning eyes. Hive legends that she was born on a hostile, far-off planet, where she lived a short, uneventful life. If it weren't for the worm familiar that bore no independent cataclysm. And so, she led her siblings in depths, where the ancient worm gods offered them immeasurable power in exchange for endless blood tribute. From this, the Hive were born, and countless civilizations were condemned to extinction. For untold ages, they devoured light and night wherever they found, facing little resistance, until they tried to take on guards. After the death of our brothers, Sabathun went into hiding. Not out of fear, of course, but out of strategy. Because Sabathun knows the best way to beat your enemy is to join them. In her greatest trick yet, she infiltrated the vanguard, weakening us from within, and stealing our most sacred resource, the one thing they thought she could never touch, the it.
Well, we all know what the actual story is by now. She didn't steal it, she died. Then she got rezzed. She was supposed to become an actual guardian, but the hive or the worm tricked her. Alright, so we got that much done. Let's see what little goodies we have stuck in here. Ooh, a funnel web. Looks like the evidence board is still being populated by the same stuff. Alright.
Light-bearing hive, complete with their own ghosts. I should have seen this coming. But how? We're in a new paradigm now, Guardian, where the boundaries between are becoming increasingly blurred, especially between what's right and what's wrong. If I had been in your place, to be honest, I don't know what I would have done. But there's no use dwelling on that. Let's assess what we do know. I see you picked up a clue along the way. One that might explain why Saba decided to return on the side of Mars. According to your ghost telemetry, that fragment is giving off the same vibrations as the pyramid tech relic that just so happened to return from Mars. Go take a look. I'll explain more when you report back.
Let's go get ourselves a second Enigma. We already have one. Maybe I'll get some extra goodies. And I'll probably have to...
Guardians have been combing Mars since it reappeared. No way they missed this. It's definitely new. Let's get a closer look.
Uh-oh. Gonna reshape a weapon. Uh-oh. Time to approach a relic. And shape our glaive. Again. Yeah, finalize the shape.
That was something. Not sure exactly what that something was, or what that something did to you. Hopefully nothing bad.
We'll see.
Here I was, bemoaning the fact that we now had two mysteries to solve. And you all making breaks left and right. So, the relic rendered a full blueprint out of a single fragment. Almost as if you were shaping that weapon based on its own memory. Which parallels the distortions on the planet. Open wounds when the past bleeds into the present. Somehow the relic can manipulate time. With the right conduit, of course. Which South would have to have. But could she use the relic? And what for? The questions just keep piling up. It seems the answers are buried within South's throne. I need someone to go and dig them up. Guardian, how do you feel about working the hidden?
Sounds alright. Of course, right now I'm... it's getting quite late for me, so I'll probably jump off here. I just want to go ahead and see how far along I got this little shotgun, because if I get to... yeah, pretty close. If level 16, it's going to be a mean little... it's essentially, once you get up to level 16, it's full balls to the wall to it. It's really, I don't need this. Give me some stuff. Alright, so gotta be alright without that. What sucks is I'm gonna need another ascendant alloy. Fuck. See if I can get another one from roll. That reminds me, I've got to go on my Titan anyways and get stuff from all my bounty stuff. Uh-oh. This might be interesting, although it's 2 days old. Destiny versus CTV. I think that's his username. Critical thinking veteran. I find him too damn obnoxious, but that's just my personal opinion. Listening to a few of his other debates. I know I wouldn't be one to endure making people listen to me like that. I know I can be obnoxious at times too, but at least I try to couch it in cool, calm, collective condescendingness rather than loud, obnoxious. Yeah.
Let's see what we've got.
It's limited to one per week. Nope, per account. That's just weak. That is weak. Uh-oh. My Banshee's locked in his grumpy pose. So all the Banshees are, or my Banshee on my backup characters are all grumpy. Oh, another Quintana. Let's see here real quick. And even though it's all weapons, it does give me something else to check out. So I do like time payload on this. It's actually quite useful. Although I'm not a fan of hipfire grip. This though, let's check out the roll on this. Since it loads up. Small bore, accurize, killing wind, and elemental capacitor. Especially run in void. That thing's gonna be nasty. Handling masterwork, that's not need it. That's gonna be nasty. It's the void version of our old an old legend. But yeah, these two, they're probably going to scrap. Especially now because of how weapons are starting to pop up more frequently with new weapons, I'm going to have to limit my shit down to just one per character. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt bad. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I'll probably jump on my other characters, or my Titan, and get his stuff, whatever he might have gotten. And then I'm going to call it a night and get some sleep. Hopefully if you found this video fun to watch, throw down that like, throw down that subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Y'all take it easy, stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Name it after me.